Hello guys and welcome to the ProDota Cup by Smashcast TV. We are here in the last match of this tournament, at least for the EU version. The grand finals are actually upon us, and the grand finals, of course, are going to be between the teams of Penta eSports and Team Singularity. These two teams have duked it out over a long course of this tournament, and now they're finally here to come into this amazing matchup, a best of 5 that will decide who takes the $2,000 in the prize pool for this tournament. And of course, this tournament would not be possible without our sponsor, in this case being XBet. They are a betting site that offers live betting on all ProDota Cup matches, offering the best odds and the highest payouts. When with XBet, use bonus code BOUNTYX to deposit and get €100 free. So, now that we're in this grand final together, let's see what Penta eSports and Team Singularity will bring to the table. Yep. Of course, Penta eSports comes with a one-game advantage, it being the winner's bracket. So we'll see what they decide to do for the first match as they come in with a bit more confidence now into the draft. Of course, before we do talk about the draft, allow me to present myself. My name is DSwordfish. I will be your caster for today. Hope you enjoy the cast. And again, for those of you that are planning on watching DreamHack in an hour, do not worry, do not fret. These videos will be on YouTube up later. Just feel free to just give me a little follow on Twitter, or just send me a message if you don't want to follow me because you hate me. And I'll post the replays just a bit later, and I'll tweet at them so you guys can actually watch them despite the game. That said, let's get right into the draft. Penta eSports, they pick up the Jakiro, Tarkseer, and the Sven. Team Singularity with the Earthshaker and the Disruptor. So, Penta eSports already a big amount of team fight. Secure lanes as well. Hard to stop the Sven in the early laning phase, as he can pretty much beat most every other offlaner, especially with the help of a Jakiro. Easy zone out. You also prepare the safe lane stacks. Jakiro is particularly a good hero for stacking, as he has a pretty long attack range and a couple of those area damage attacks with, again, a good cast range, meaning that he can actually stack multiple camps at the same time, especially nowadays. You can prepare the jungle easily for Sven, especially since he's not particularly a hero that has to gank too often to be effective. And if you do need help from in the mid lane, Jakiro is a great hero to go there. Liquid Fire reducing attack speed is crucial in the early game, and the Ice Path itself is a great it's a great punishing mechanism if the enemy team decides to dive your tower. Darkseer himself in the offlane, also a safe laner, usually has a decent lane without much troubles, especially if combined with some strong position 4. Spirit Breaker, for example, still in the pool and seen quite a lot recently in this tournament. Or, you know, you could go for Bounty Hunter, which would have been a good pick for Penta. Of course, that's banned. Or Night Stalker even, which is actually still in the pool. As for Team Singularity, I have a much more team fight on them. They have secure ganking spots with the Disruptor and the Clockwork in the early game. Not the strongest of lanes, as Penta eSports does have, but the Earthshaker will be relevant regardless of his Blink Dagger or not, since the Disruptor can be a great setup with that Glimpse and, of course, the Static Storm. The Echo Slam later on, it will also be a very useful skill, coming 20-30 minutes in, offering not only team fight like Darkseer does, but also a bunch of damage, meaning your carry is not as necessary in the team fights, meaning you can pick a much more farming intensive carry that will rely less on team fights to be relevant, as the Earthshaker can just go as 4 protect 5 if they choose to do so, together with the Clockwork, of course, who also brings a lot of magical damage to the table early on, and that way they can deal with the Warcry Sven pretty easily. Now Penta, they decided to bring a Mirana, which could be a Mirana for the mid lane, or could, because Blazemon does play a really good Mirana, or they could be playing a Mirana in the support position, the position 4, even though we haven't seen that in a long time. However, it would be kind of weird to pick your mid laner before your position 4. Depends on what Penta is thinking. It is a pretty versatile draft that they're running right now, so they could even surprise us with Sven in the support position, which they did last time against Singularity themselves. And now we'll see what Singularity decides to pick here, because Singularity has the option to try to counter this Sven with some sort of pick that has mixed damage, for example. Actually, it's kind of hard to counter this Sven. A Juggernaut would be decent. A Troll Warlord also a pretty good hero, but again, these guys start to really weaken once it gets to the mid game, late game, and Sven has enough items to just two-shot them, for example. So these two heroes more of an early game domination. People that can put a lot of pressure. Luna is also a possibility for the mixed damage and stopping the Warcry, and of course getting that pushing power up. Since you already have a pretty strong team fight to begin with, you might want to just decide to play with a carry that can bring you a bit of team fight. And of course, Team Singularity can still pick the Gyrocopter, a particularly decent hero against Sven. Okay, no, Lone Druid is the pick, but Gyrocopter would have been okay because of the mixed damage. Of course, the fact that he's reliant on team fights most. done. But Team Singularity, similar to the picks that I was mentioning, the idea of a bit of pushing power in your pick so you can pressure the Sven early and force him out of the safe lane. Of course, the Sven can just go into his jungle and farm as much as he can, but the Lone Druid can easily take your safe lane tower. You can even run him in aggressive Trident together with Disruptor and Clockwork, put a lot of pressure onto this man, and then take away the safe lane, or force Penta eSports at the very least to put up defensive wards to stop the Lone Druid from attacking. And even though Sven is decent against Lone Druid, especially if you get a Blink Dagger relatively early so you can kill the hero, most of the time his natural tank with the true form is enough to withstand Sven's damage, and the root itself can be really brutal against Sven, even if you rely on RNG. Team Singularity finish off their draft with a Queen of Pain, and now Penta eSports at their own position 4, maybe? This could still be Sven position 4 now, surprising them, because the Queen of Pain could be really annoying against Sven, and now Penta could just pick up a carry, which had them so in the past. Perhaps something along the lines of I want to say Weaver, but probably not. The Necrophos would have been okay. Troll Warlord as well. Juggernaut's actually pretty good as well. And no, they're going to pick up position 4, Doom, right, okay. Sven will be the carry this position this time, and Brian of course played Blazemon. That's not surprising. This Sven is just that, you know, they've been tricking us before, and that is probably, you know, that's the surprise here. they tricked us before, and they could have put the Sven in this position 4. This time it wouldn't be too good, and of course there will be the power of the Warcry as well to help with Doom early on. He's quite a low armor hero. With the Sven, he should be having a lot of impact. Is decent with Darkseer as well, as he's quite fast. Once he gets one level of Scorched Earth, it just boots. And he can put a lot of pressure onto the Queen of Pain, who's actually going to be played in the carry position. Apparently, Nisha playing the Lone Druid in the mid lane, so they want to put the Lone Druid up against the Mirana and force the Queen of Pain instead in the carry. Probably leave him alone with an offensive Tri-Lane with Earthshaker Disrupt Clockwork, unless Exotic Deer. Oh no, they just swapped. Okay, that makes more sense. They were just trying to fool me. They don't really fool Penta, they just fool us. Cool. But Lone Druid in the carry position makes much more sense, of course. You actually could run an aggressive Trident and then run the Earthshaker alone against the Darkseer, but there's no need to do that. The Lone Druid will suffer a bit against the Darkseer, but if you go with a Quelling Blade on your bear, you should be more or less fine. Early Tranquil Boots in this situation, and even if the Doom does harass you, your Lone Druid does bring a lot of physical damage to the table early on, allowing you to stop the Doom from harassing you too much, even with those Iron Shells, especially because you become a threat when it comes at you. Now we're getting right into the game, as we can see the towers, I believe. Could be. Oh, I'm paused. Sorry, on the towers. I completely forgot. I was actually. You keep saying one moment. Apparently, they told me that the Eta Prosta Ishta means that just happened essentially. So that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't know actually why Singularity or Exotic Tier speaks exclusively in broken Spanish, but seems to be his thing now. Good thing the two teams are not actually flaming each other too much in the beginning of the game. That's good. And for people asking, yes, this is the first map. It's just that we have a Penta eSports advantage of 1 game. Again, a lot of people may be coming here and thinking, why is there no Twitch stream? We don't have Twitch stream for this game itself, or, well, any of the ProDota Cup games, as we are sponsored by Smashcast. Smashcast is a pretty good platform. There's some people that have issues with it, but it just depends on the servers in certain countries. As you guys know, Twitch has more servers. But of course, if people can't watch this on Smashcast because of whatever reasons, the VODs will be up later after this matchup. Well, probably not after this matchup, but soon thereafter, where you will see the whole games, the whole 4 games, if this does go to the 4th game between Penta and Singularity. And to find the videos, the best thing you could do is, again, like I said, follow Twitter, or again, just check my Twitter later. You don't really need to follow it necessarily, and I will be tweeting out the replays for this final, as I usually do, because it is a pretty important game. It is a final after all, and it's just unfortunate that this tournament will do it at the same time as DreamHack. You really can't do much about it, right? The priority is to the players and whenever they want to play, rather than when the tournament wants to do it. Of course, DreamHack is also a really fun tournament. Right. But it is worth it seeing Singularity play. They are particularly a really good team. Second in the European region. They're actually, ironically, even though DreamHack is a bigger tournament and will have much more production, I would say that these guys are better than probably the two teams playing right now. Planet Odd. And even though they competitively don't have that much of a trajectory, they do seem to play better than the recent Planet Odd, and they do seem to play better than... Who was that other team they're playing? I think it's Vega, maybe? I believe. Regardless, the point is... Singularity is a team that just came out of nowhere. Kind of got picked up recently and did really well. They're a bit inconsistent still, which is an unfortunate thing for Singularity. And Penta eSports, similarly. But they do have very, very high levels of players. If it wasn't because one of their players is gone, which is unfortunate as Axmo will be playing in his place, this team probably would bring a lot to the table to this nice matchup. Now we'll see how they play with Axmo. It depends on how often they played with this man and how confident they are in his skills. They have given him one of his best heroes, or a Shaker, and we'll see if Singularity can bring their A-game to the table, even with a stand-in, which is unfortunate. But of course, Penta eSports themselves also have a really good lineup. Some of the classic players like Boogie, well, not classic, but pretty well-known players like Boogie that made his name in 4 active anchors plus C captain. You get the stand-in owned to me that's been doing really well recently, especially with Penta eSports, ever since they took out their, who was it? Slash? No, there was, not Slash. That's support. Jabs, that's it, Jabs. It was a single syllable, yeah, Jabs, as their support player, and they moved the Boogie into the supporting position, I believe. Was it? Was it DNZ? I actually forgot the Penta change, but regardless, Penta has been making a name for themselves in the scene recently with some really, really quality plays, especially from Blazemon and Skitter. I would say that these two cores kind of stand out because of their not so common hero pool, but yet a really, really comfortable picks with, for example, Blazemon being fantastic on the Lone Druid, arguably the second or third best Lone Druid in competitive Dota currently. And look at what Blazemon does, really clever. Forces K-Sword to go onto him, or Kasor, to go onto him a bit early, meaning that the cogs can't push him away from the rune, and Kasor can't do the typical Clockwork play of I'm gonna cog you and take your bound rune away, which means they just killed cogs level 1, in a scenario which is not too ideal, as the chance of you being able to really destroy the Mirana with cogs level 1 is not too high. You might be able to really kill the Doom by battery assaulting him and just hitting him. And with that level 1 cogs, you really stop some of your versatility in the early game. You're going to rely much more on trying to harass the lanes in this case and try to use your mana burn for something useful. And Blazemon, we'll see him in the middle lane. Let's analyze the lanes a bit, actually, before we get on into the analysis of the game itself. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. So we're going to see Blazemon on one hand, in this mid lane, playing the Mirana. And you're playing against a Queen of Pain in the end. So Queen of Pain, I want to give the upper hand, but Blazemon, or Mirana's not too bad against her particularly. Nice range, good attack damage. Oh, can even harass her with the arrows. Especially if Blazemon keeps getting these kills. But the Queso coming in. Oh, forced to leap out of the Mirana. That's a leap level 2. Now he does have his escape mechanism. And at the very least, they did force that out of him, right? So you can't go for a lane-dominating build of Starstorm too early, and he will be forced out in the early levels at the very least. Blazemon being really harassed here and putting a lot of pressure in this lane so that Nisha can get his levels. But Clever should have a really hard time against the Clockwork in general because the cogs can take away your mana, and that's pretty much the most important thing right now, as Mirana does have mana problems in the early game, especially once she gets Starstorm and start having those level necessity. I'll look at the top lane. I'm going to see... No, Eliza actually going on to this Doom. I don't think that's the wisest of ideas. Seems like it is. Actually, DNZ will have trouble himself. Cogs also available to stop him. DNZ, will he be able to stop a Clockwork that has boots on him? They both have boots, but Clockwork naturally has much more movement speed than a Doom. Around 25 different. And this 25 difference might make enough of a difference to catch this Doom. After all, no armor means he's super vulnerable to a battery assault harassment, and there's the battery assault used. Slightly big cast point. Scorched Earth finally picked up thanks to that bounty rune, and DNZ calculated this perfectly, as with the Scorched Earth, he's actually faster than the Clockwork. You may want to fight this. They give him the double damage. Where's the arrow? They can't use it just yet because, of course, they don't have the mana for it, meaning Clockwork will make it out of this alive. However, the Doom did as well, and that was a lot of mana wasted on the Clockwork, a lot of time wasted on them for a Doom. They even picked up a bounty rune and that achieved his level 2 in the middle of that engagement. Not too bad for DNZ, and of course you can still recover for the, or through the Devour. That's it though. Looking at the last lane, which we didn't really, oh, actually looking at this top lane, Axmo is screwed. He's an Earthshaker against his Vätte. that goes without saying. He's a melee hero against a Sven. He actually doesn't have that many ways to stop the Sven to begin with. Those stuns are very weak against the Stormhammer, as you can actually stop your Enchant Totem because of the better cast point. And on top of that, you also have the fact that, well, not that, okay, no, Nisha. I was playing with fire there. It's just that you have two supports also helping him out. And Jakiro is pretty static in lane until he's really just a responsive ganker more than someone that really just roam around. And Doom doesn't really need to be in lane, but if he sees an opportunity, he might go for it. Like, for example, here in the bottom lane where he sees Kessor, might want to kill him. There's the root. Oh, the cog's already used. There's the root plus the arrow. Perfectly timed. DNZ might just get this kill with the help of the Iron Shield. The Clockwork will go down in the end, giving the first blood to Blazemon. Very clever play there by Penta, as they allow this Marana to get a bit of that gold, which he lost in the lane. However, if you look at the net worth, you'll still see the Queen of Pain being slightly above her, as the difference in last hits, it's huge. And we see a level 5 Queen of Pain fighting against a level 3 Marana. Perhaps the Marana was not the best of picks for this mid lane. Mainly because, well, the Queen of Pain is just a really strong lane dominator. I wouldn't really give too much advantage to, again, like I said, the Queen of Pain. But if you do leave the lane, try to get for kills, because you do think you got a little bit of an experience difference in the early game. You are forced to use your arrow for these kind of, engagements to try to get the range creeps to your favor. And you're also not creep aggroing too much, as the Queen of Pain is very good at stopping you from creep aggroing due to her Shadow Strike and relatively high range, or relatively high cast range when it comes to the mid lane. That means that the Marana is going to have quite a hard time getting the denies necessary, and of course you see a huge lane domination by him. But Lone Druid is not doing too badly either. I mean, actually looking at this just Singularity team as a whole, you really can't harass him as Darkseer because the surprise roots could really stop your Surge, and there's not really much rhyme or reason to them. The Surge really does depend on understanding when the enemy team has his stuns and when they don't, and thus being able to surge away using the maximum movement speed to your maximum efficiency, right? But Exotic Deer with the Savage Roar, and of course that root can come out of nowhere with a stun, and you also fighting against a Disruptor whom you don't know what build is going to go for. I mean, that Kinetic Field plus a root is guaranteed to stop your Surge from happening. And oh, that is the glimpse committed, actually. That's interesting. So Eliza chooses the glimpse, or gets a glimpse level 2 already once he sees the Doom. Thought that was pretty efficient, and they worked out. And now they're going to go on me. The Battery Assault, the root. This poor Darkseer shouldn't be able to surge himself away, as the cogs keep him in place, and that'll ensure the kill into the Darkseer. And this is why you don't want to go into the lane. Boogie, though, stays here. Gibbs wants to fight. Where's the root? The Savage Roar is also available. There's still no root from the bear. Unlucky Lone Druid might just lose this bear, but he will use the Savage Roar last second. Bear has to run away. Can he resummon it? No, he can't for 30 seconds. That means no bear for him, and Exotic Deer manages to save him with a great play, splitting both his Lone Druid and the bear, going in different directions, confusing the enemy team, especially since they're not super coordinated with these two heroes apparently, and using the return in the right time. Really clever. So of course the idea was that Doom or Jakiro, one of them two, would go for the Lone Druid, and they went for a very greedy play there. And now they might actually pay for it. Boogie gonna go down, Dual Breathless, not gonna help him whatsoever against Nisha, who deals way too much damage. Next objective being the Doom, who wants to kill the bear, but a great kiting here by the Lone Druid allows the kill for TNZ to happen without the loss of any of your animals. Meaning that's another kill for the guys at Singularity. And they make up for that first blood pretty well. Not only lane domination, but of course getting a lot more kills. Lone Druid falling behind the Sven with these engagements in terms of last hits, but his net worth should be more or less the same. Yeah, not much of a difference. And of course that is a great experience gain. And we saw his bear really go low in that engagement and somehow surviving still. So that's also very important, as that could have been a crucial play. 30 seconds of the bear makes it really hard to last it. Regardless, we'll see now a glimpse onto the Darkseer. He already used that Surge. No, he did not, actually. That was just a really long walk. On me will be caught in the cogs. Tries to dispel them. Can't really do so. Tries to destroy them. Can't really do so as the Battery Assault stops him. And of course, Singularity will take that kill. That's another kill onto Darkseer in the bottom lane. And the only lane they really need to pressure now is Skitter with that beautiful Immortal. By the way, I love that Sven Immortal. Such a pity that I can't have it because escalating odds. Anyway. So that ends up being the Penta eSports guys starting to get a lot of pressure onto them. Not going to be able to get a lot of space for this Fen once the mid game comes by, especially if the Queen of Pain is as farmed as she is right now. And she's even aiming to kill Blazemon. Might even consider doing a blink offensively with a Scream of Pain. But in the bottom lane, they already take the tower, go on to DNZ. The Battery Assault is hurting him a decent amount, but there's two creeps in the way. The Surge comes out last second, but of course, with the root lasting way too long, this Doom will not survive this engagement. Meaning that Singularity will get yet another kill into this matchup and start their snowball even further. Of course, you're still fighting against a Sven, so he could still be a force to be reckoned with in the mid game, especially since he could just recover and farm even if he was losing that lane, but he isn't, right? So it could be the fact that Penta eSports decides to instead give a lot of farm to the Mirana, or a lot of space to the Mirana, so she can recover from this terrible mid lane and make the Sven be the main force in the early to mid game when he grabs the Mask and Madness and can just destroy a lone druid by walking up to him. Especially a lone druid that has not yet gone for the true form, as he's skipping it for more levels into Spirit Bear, Rabbit, and of course that Savage Roar, which you really need to level up early on. They just give that's interesting. Remember when you say in the lane, like you say, I want one last hit away from Arcane Boots? Yep. Usually never give it to the support because he's being greedy, right? But not in this case. They let him have the last hit. Arcane Boots for him. Interesting. I don't actually see that much in pro games, but anyway. That's pretty valuable Arcane Boots for the Disruptor regardless, so it's not a bad idea to have them. Now, you're going to see Blazemon, just again, being harassed out of lane. The idea is to take this tower early so you can start putting pressure with the lone druid himself. Sven also takes the tower down bottom. He's not particularly a bad pusher himself with the Sven. But of course, Blazemon, careful. He goes in with the arrow. No. But of course, you can't match the lone druid's push in the mid game. You really need a lot of many more items. And even so, you're more of a, you're not really that great of a split pusher regardless because the item build you usually go for. And that's the important part there. Exotic, you're doing a... We'll have a really much bigger impact coming in the mid game, especially with a Midas earned so early. Should be able to rival the Sven's farm at the very least. Lone Druid is a decently fast farmer once he gets the Midas and the Radiance, and Sven doesn't have that many stacks to his name just yet. As you can see, no stack, no stack. We see a double ancient stack. That's pretty much it. A triple ancient stack here. Okay, that's something more important. They even picked it for me. So they actually did build enough stacks for Skitter to be relevant and to just kind of double. Not a bad idea. But Nisha will still be only 1500 away from him, not too bad. Lone Druid is still beating him in terms of farm, probably as Midas. But of course, this net worth is a bit of a lie, as the Midas actually takes away the net worth on the Lone Druid. It is not that useful of an item on him as compared to a Mask and Manson and Sven. One of those high impact for not much gold items, right? So the cost efficiency in this situation for Penta is much higher than the Midas. Midas is really just made for the late game, and it looks so beautiful. Anyway, the Sven here can have much more impact in the team fight if they choose to have him. However, the Earthshaker himself is actually a very important factor here. The Darkseer really harassed in this bottom lane. They left Axmo alone, now that Sven tries to amplify his farm by going to the jungle and taking some stacks, and even going to the mid lane and trying to fight against this Queen of Pain, as he is the most farmed, giving a lot of space to Axmo, allowing him to get an early Blink Dagger, which is going to be crucial for these engagements coming up, as the early Blink Dagger will be able to destroy Sven before he gets his BKB, especially as Sven has to go for a pretty aggressive build of Echo Saber and Mask of Madness. Usually you'd expect the Blink Dagger much earlier, but in this case, doesn't seem like he's gonna go for it, or even a BKB, of course, right? But that means that the Earthshaker with his Fissure and the Earthshaker with his Echo Slam and the Enchant Totem even will be able to stun the Sven out, and they might be able to kite him just based on the Earthshaker stuns, which would be a huge hassle, especially when the Shadow Strike is also on you. You can get slowed. It's much easier to hit you with everything. The Glimpse, you won't be able to stop that either. The Kinetic Field could also stop you from running at someone and killing them just with your attack damage. And I understand the idea for the Sven, right? The Skitter's here is trying to go for a lot of damage, trying to burst down every hero, including Queen of Pain and a Lone Druid just very early. Not a need for Blink Dagger too early just yet, but that build might not work out when there's so many zone out spells like the Clockwork's Cogs, the Kinetic Field, or the Fissure itself that stop the Sven from actually harassing someone in the Singularity side. It still will work out, increase his farming speed though, and it does seem like Skitter just won't want to fight early on. That seems like, yeah. Alright, good glimpse, just in case this Sven decide to TP, but in the shadows, so you know, surprise kind of thing. Turns out he didn't, so he just glimpsed back. And we'll see a little TP from Doom. Okay, just back. This guy has also not been too relevant, but he's gonna get the Doom really soon, and getting around the time that Static Storm comes out. I don't know which one's more useful. The Doom this game is okay against the Queen of Pain and the Earthshaker. Probably the two heroes you want to hit, but that's it. Later on in the game, you might want to use on Disruptor, but you do need a Blink Dagger to be able to use that. That cast point, the superior cast point by Disruptor, makes so that Doom walking up to you makes it is really hard. Or it's really hard for Doom just walking up to you to kill you or to hit you with Doom, as your zero cast point should always be this Doom cast point, and even the Glimpse might be able to stop him, right? The only thing here that does benefit Penta eSports, you know, of course, when against the Queen of Pain, it could be really effective. They do find the Mirana though, Static Storm, they have Shadow Strike as well. She's been silenced for too long. The Fear is even used so she can't leap away, and that's a guaranteed kill. A 5-man rotation, though, used up for the skill, meaning that Singularity did not get too much gold out of it. It's just a more of a harassment towards the Mirana, and see if they can at least capitalize with a bit more farm on the Lone Druid, trying to get that radiance early, or maybe even a tower at the mid lane, which is something that would really be welcome for Singularity. What I like here is that they're dividing, going for a 3-man gank, 2 supports, and of course the Queen of Pain, whereas the Lone Druid probably can take this time or the space created to take the tower in the mid lane. And oh, if they catch Skater, this would be fantastic. They do see him now. Kinetic field. Oh, the Glimpse saw him. Skater brought back so he can't run away. There's the Echo Slime even committed to this. Sonic Wave even available. And the Sven will die to Nisha. A chain of stuns is too powerful. They also see Boogie. They miss the arrow completely. The Doom comes in. Just wants to show off his Doom. There's the hook shot. Stops the Chikiro. The Doom hits Nisha. And he can't fight here anymore unless... No, the auto attacks are not enough. They actually decide to run her away. She's been muted. They have to deny her. Somehow the Fissure stops him. There's the Macropyre. Actually killed the Queen of Pain in time, but DNZ will be destroyed by the bears. Exotic Deer finally comes in here as the reinforcements. Blazemon using that ultimate. They know where he is, more or less. So the idea is to stop the Midnight Shadow from being effective. Exotic Deer takes a lot of damage. Still has that salve to heal up. And can always true form if things go wary. That was a smoke gank wasted by Singularity. And, well, not wasted, but used up to get the Sven. Of course, Queen of Pain stayed there a bit too long. Got really cocky with that Chikiro. And that cost her life. So that could have been a better engagement for the Polish team. That's for certain. However, Penta eSports do lose their carry for a Queen of Pain. And they lost their carry first. Queen of Pain got the gold out of that. And, of course, the experience. Lone Druid himself also didn't die. And became the cleanup crew for this team fight. So that ends up being pretty okay for the guys at Singularity. I know, Nisha might go on to own to me. That's the objective. No, there's Nisha being brought back. Sorry, that's the Darkseer being brought back. They don't want to continue this. DNZ doesn't have Doom this time, and that Doom came by surprise. Actually, you didn't really know that the Doom was level 6 just yet. I knew because, of course, I'm a caster and I'm seeing the spectator mode. But the guys from Singularity didn't know, so maybe that's why they actually chose to fight. That's another good point. They probably did not know that Doom was that warmed or that experienced, because last time he showed himself on the map, he was level 5, and you could just really tell he was level 5 for, you know, a small time, because he did go for the jungle and try to get that level 6 pretty early, got a lot of bounty runes and whatnot, which is really beneficial for Penta eSports. And that ended up pretty much winning in the team fight. It was a really good Doom onto Singularity, frankly. Well, let's see. In the top lane, the objective is for Owned Me to try to go on to Axe mode if he does see him. No, Axe mode is actually looking for the kill here. He has a Blink Dagger, so he wants to show it off. However, you don't really have much help except for the Queen of Pain. If you don't see someone alone, then this could be a very dangerous engagement. Axe mode does have the Echo Slam finally. Might want to go in. They prepared this, and in they go. First, the Echo Slam even committed here, and they use Do You Kill the Chikiro in time. Now Nisha says, hey, why not kill Owned Me? Don't want to put too much pressure on this and get punished again. The Doom's available. Of course, they know this. The Surge onto the Doom, and the objective is to kill the Queen of Pain yet again. In comes DNZ. They want to stop the Blink if he gets the right initiation with a Midnight Shadow. Ooh, this is scary. Queen of Pain has to run away using her own bottle regeneration, trying to get that HP as far up as possible in case the Doom does come out. The arrow will miss completely. And in the end, that's just a dead Jakiro. Wasted an Echo Slam for that, so in the end, it's not really that worth it, to be honest. But at least you didn't use up the Sonic Wave, which is your main source of damage anyway. The Echo Slam is a really valuable skill to really stop the Miranda from leaping away, and you have the combination of stuns once you use it. Maybe killing Jakiro with that. They could have gone for the Darkseer there. They, of course, were just playing safely. And after last team fight, it does make sense they choose to do that. Now, Exotic Deer just bought the Radiance, by the way, which is quite important, as he can now harass a bit with the bear into the lane. So that actually him needing to be there. And now they're going to try to go into the Mirana. Where's the Fissure? Finds him. Blazemon. And there's the Veil of Discord. Glimpse. Static Storm. Hook shot. Will miss. Doesn't really matter, as Mirana will be hooked back, or cocked back into the Static Storm. And now the Clockwork healing all to me as well, just with the battery assault damage. That Macropyre did jack shit in that team fight. And Penta eSports will be able to, or sorry, we'll just start losing the tower as Singularity will be able to take it. Exotic Deer even using that rage to get the extra pushing on that bear going. And of course with the Radiance, oh, Battle Cry, not what I say in rage, the Battle Cry to get the push on the tower going. And of course with the Rabbit and the Midas, the Lone Druid does hit pretty hard. And finally the tower does go down in favor, of course, of the guys at Singularity. And that's another tier 2 taken down. Minute 18. The lone druid strategy is working wonderfully for this team. And you're actually countering the Jakiro farm, or the Jakiro push to some degree, to the point where Jakiro is actually played more as the normal support, right? Using the ice path more than anything. Now, Skitter himself, bounty running, and starting to farm the enemy jungle a bit. They know that there's probably going to be offensive wards at this point by the guys of Singularity since they're waiting, and of course they've been going for a lot of smoke ganks. It does seem likely that there'll be some sort of offensive ward, and the only one they find is right here, which is unfortunate, but hey. It's a start for these guys. And Skitter goes in, finds the Queen of Pain. There's the Echo Saber. Arrow as well. Stunned for far too long. The Cogs are giving her so much life. But of course, the Queen of Pain eventually has to go down anyway. Arrow to the face from so far off. There was nothing you could do. Even though K-Sword's best efforts were used there. And actually, DNZ stuck. But of course, the Blink Dagger from the Sven. Hard to find him. The Glimpse, they bring him back. But the damage is enough to kill the Clockwork before he's glimpsed back entirely. And Penta eSports showing off why steroids are so powerful in this game. And the God Strength will give him a lot of space there, allowing them to get some important kills. With this in the top, the top place, Static Storm actually to kill DNZ. Aximal plans to kill Boogie as well. The Glimpse, they know more or less where he is, and they actually dusted him. Never mind. They know exactly where the Jakiro is, trying to deny himself. Perhaps Moonlight Shadow's about to run out, and Boogie will be killed by a Enchant Totem to the face. Penta eSports will be losing 2 there. Singularity, no one yet. And of course the Lone Druid who keeps on farming. Now going for the proper split pushing build. As you can see, the Lone Druid Bear is at a different lane than the Lone Druid himself, allowing the Lone Druid to farm up pretty efficiently. If he's even going for flats for the extra armor for your team, and of course a little bit of lifesteal, which is never unwelcome on the Lone Druid. But it's really nice that you get the extra armor, especially against the Sven, right? To get that extra defensive power. As Lone Druid himself has a decent agility game, but not the best. True form gives you bonus armor, but again, not that much. Not compared to a Warcry. Not enough to really withstand a Sven. You get 4 armor for your whole team as well. You get pretty low armor, of course, besides yourself, the Queen of Pain, and the Earthshaker. Not the best in that regard, so you can really take advantage of that Vlad. And of course, auras are really good on the Lone Druid himself, as later on in the game, you really don't want to go for anything else but auras on the hero. I mean, Lone Druid himself and then the bear, right? Yeah, Lone Druid himself and then there's the bear. Cool. Just to differentiate between the two elements of this pair, right? Because they always come together. Lone Druid and the bear. Ooh. Now the Doom wants to defend this bottom tower. I think the idea here is for SNG to just start pushing this, or maybe just leave the Radiance Bear. Yeah, push it with that. Axmo in the mid lane. Might want to go into Blazemon. This is a dangerous play though, Fissure. And just getting a bit of space. Ooh, the Static Storm came a second too late. Glimpse to bring him back, and the Static Storm will ensure the kill onto Blazemon as the Sonic Wave finishes him off. Screamed in the face and destroyed. The hookshot now finds a Doom. He's been cogged in. The Battery Assault, DNC, where are you going to run to? You just can't run anywhere as Nisha comes in and enjoys this final kill. 2 kills for the Queen of Pain. Actually, 1 for K-Sword or K-Sword, but doesn't really matter. As the Queen of Pain participated in both. Used a Sonic Wave. Not too confident to really push into this high ground alone. But it does seem like the Lone Druid is pretty confident to just use his bear, right, to push up. Actually, wow, they really aren't afraid of the Darkseer plus Sven at all. Because Sven was seen in the top lane. He's not TPing back, and the Lone Druid is going to take on Rax. They don't want to fight with a Doom, of course, but you're fighting against a team that doesn't have Sonic Wave anymore, and your Sven is just not TPing back. Skitter deciding to farm the jungle instead, allowing the enemy team to just take 2 lanes of Rax super early, and once the Doom comes back, they just don't have time to fight anymore. I don't know if that was the wisest of choices. You weren't fighting against Static Storm, you weren't fighting against the Sonic Wave, you're still fighting against the Lone Druid, that's pretty much it. And of course the Echo Slam, which is still a pretty good spell to fight, or a pretty good team fight spell. However, Penta eSports themselves had, I guess he didn't have BKB just yet, so maybe that's why he was waiting here, Skitter. I understand that choice entirely. You could have just used the Vacuum Wall Replica to put a bit of harassment, but without the Mirana, you didn't have the damage necessary. You didn't want Sven to just jump in, without, of course, being able to stop the Earthshaker, and he was nowhere to be seen, so he's probably hiding around this area, or that's what you assume, meaning that Earthshaker could have destroyed your team fight. I understand that choice by Skitter there. Rather to lose Rax than lose your Sven and Rax anyway, right? So that could have been a really crucial engagement. And Axmo yet again He's in this bottom lane. He uses the Shadow Blade. I think the idea is to get some vision onto Blazemon. It might just surprise him. He has the Echo Slam Enchant Totem combo. This might just work out, huh? No, they're not. He's afraid because he doesn't see anyone else on the map, which is wise, as the smoke is actually coming out from Penta. And the guys from SNG themselves is trying to take the shrines first. That's the idea. They already took a tier 3 pretty early, and laner racks. Why not put some pressure on the shrines? Using a really clever distance difference between the lone druid and the bear. Really hard to actually attack Exotic Deer when you don't see the bear attacking your shrine. But of course, you still be able to. The lone druid is still be able to attack the shrine from there. Now Skitter, drop back. Shadow Strike still hits him, and the Doom just harassing the bear, so he can't really push too much pressure. Nisha still has the blink available, gets rooted though. Can they get the Doom in time? They might consider this. She's been stunned for quite a long time. The Doom just doesn't come out. They don't want to commit to the skill entirely. The idea for Singularity there, the Singularity got unlucky with that root, but of course Penta eSports, they didn't want to commit. Again, a Moonlight Shadow even used up there, and it seems like they're just not on the same page. A lot of the times, they seem to want to fight but don't entirely commit to it. It's not understandable why the Moonlight Shadow got used there. Maybe they thought there was a better angle, but once they saw everyone else, they decided to back away because of course they didn't have the information and the whole team was there together. But I did know that at least Lone Druid and Queen of Pain were here, so you should have known that everyone else was with them. And of course Lone Druid and Queen of Pain would not be in the same spot at any other point unless you're trying to force a 5-man team fight. Now the worst part about this is that since you lost your shrine, this shrine is a really easy taking for the guys at Singularity. The Lone Druid can put a lot of pressure onto this Roshan, take it quite quickly, and of course, with the help of the Queen of Pain, as well on the damage, it makes it so that the Roshan falls down easily, and to a team that has a lot of team fight within it anyway. You also don't have the Shrine, so you can't buy back to it in case you decide to go balls to the wall and try to get your best team fight possible. So that means that's a free Aegis for the guys at Singularity, and a Queen of Pain being able to get also a Tome of Experience. Why not? Tome of Knowledge. And now with another smoke gank from the guys at Penta eSports. We see a ward, but this ward has vision only of the Lone Druid. This would be a great target as they see the Disruptor instead. He revealed the smoke. His 4-staff surprises them. Now the Lone Druid, the objective is already there to see him entirely. He does not know that he's actually has a low ground advantage. And yeah, that's a dead Lone Druid, losing his life and no ages to his name. The rest of the team wants to fight here, but Nisha is that it might be a bit dangerous. There's the Echo Summon to 3 though. Axmo wants to save this team fight. They kill the Jakiro and they static storm the Sven. Kasor though, he's stuck next to the fissure and he can't really do much there. Skitter does not go down. A fantastic Echo Slam that can't be used up as the Disruptor's gonna be pummeled to shreds and Skitter manages to destroy him. Axmo now coming down in this top lane, able to kill at least the Doom. Now go on to Onby and Blazemon as well, also going down. Darkseer dying here to Nisha's damage, and the only surviving member here of Penta eSports is the Sven. However, Singularity, the only surviving member would have been Earthshaker if it wasn't for that Aegis that actually got wasted by the Mirana that played a bit aggressively there. Turns out I was looking at the wrong kills in the team fight. So yeah, it turns out I looked at the Sven, and then turns out the Mirana actually at one point, I can only presume, decided to come back or try to attack Nisha for some reason and be aggressive, because of course he took the Aegis out and Axmo just punished him. Really good plays here by his Earthshaker. There's a reason why he's one of his best heroes. You can really notice how good Earthshaker can be. And DNZ. And he found out Axmo coming in with the Echo Slam. Oh, kills the Doom. Also the Doom Wings. That's an easy Doom taken away by Singularity. And with the Lone Druid, they should be able to take this tower. There's a Shadow Strike by Nisha. Not gonna find Blazemon. And they are gonna go onto Mr. Bear, and Skitter comes in. They want to kill the actual hero, the Macropyre, with a vacuum. They do a lot of damage to Exotic Bear, but Exotic Deer, but everyone there is trying to save his life as this poor man survives his life, just sacrificing himself for the good of mankind. Here comes Nisha, prevents the stun, thanks to, of course, that Lincoln's. Skitter still wanted to destroy him, but the Moonlight Shadow makes it really hard for the guys at Singularity to counter-initiate. And they did save their bear, which is the most important, or not really their bear, their Lone Druid, which is the most important part of that engagement. However, you again lost the Disruptor, a Static Storm that was completely wasted, a Hookshot that was completely wasted, and that was because they fought with an Echo Slam. That was not the wisest of choices there. The Echo Slam has been one of the most important skills this game for Axmo, and it's probably the only skill that has been able to turn around team fight. Also, a questionable. At this point, you might want to just carry the gem for when these Moonlight Shadows come out, because they've been getting some really good initiations with the Moonlight Shadows. And it seems like Penta has been playing quite aggressively, and whenever you want to counter-initiate this Sven, you just can't. That God Strength is ridiculous, especially if the Moonlight Shadow hits him. There's no time to burst a Sven with God Strength on if he has also the invisibility, which means that halfway through you attacking him, he's gonna not be able to attack back, or he's not gonna die. Essentially, you halfway through attacking him, he's gonna go invisible. You're not gonna continue attacking him, and he's not gonna die by any chance. So that's probably one of the biggest issues with the Moonlight Shadow in these engagements, that it actually serves all big purpose for Singularity. Now, LZ, D, and Z. Nisha doesn't fight him. Or doesn't want to attack him. Axel wants to go in. There's the Enchant Totem, the Fissure as well. Doesn't want to commit too much to this. Sonic Wave actually used. And Nisha with a simple kill. You know, that's just a combination of skills. Not much trouble. They want to fight while the God Strength is down, but of course that's physically impossible. They will fight at least when the Doom is down, which is important to them as well, as that Doom could be really crucial in this team fights in a big way to put away the Queen of Pain from attacking. Now, Mr. Bear, trying to attack in these towers. A lot of damage going on to them. Oh, there's the arrow. They find the bear. Dual breath as well. The poor bear is going to be force-staffed away. There's the glimpse. They bring him back. Savage Order to help him out. And he's force-staffed to safety as Nisha can't quite find the kill. In the end, Singularity will be... Oh, they will be keeping themselves up as a team. And my defense for Penta eSports in terms of the high ground defense is pretty high, and you've seen how powerful, especially the Moonlight Shadow, to counter initiate. But their towers are still falling slowly thanks to the lone druid, and of course he wants to wait till the next bear to really put pressure here. They are trying to choke Penta right now. You're forcing him into these kind of wards because they know they're gonna fight in the high ground most of the time, even a sentry here to prevent any sort of, you know, cheeky wards around this area, which gives you a lot of vision from the enemy team. They're of course, again, trying to choke the enemy team, not allow them to really farm. Only the Sven is farming. The Mirana's really fallen behind in terms of damage and farm. The Queen of Pain and the Earthshaker are both beating her. The Darkseer himself can't even do anything this game, honestly. He doesn't even have Guardian Greaves 30 minutes in. And then relying on a 4 Protect 5 strategy is not particularly good because the Sven is also an easy hero to kite and stop. So once they figure out a way to stop Skitter, especially with Heaven's Halberds, he's going to go down. Silenced already is what we were talking about. Well, there's a Vacuum Ball replica. Seems like Darkseer wants to prove his use, but the 4-staff saves Exotic Deer. They even 4-staff the illusion. That was weird. And Sonic Wave finds someone. Echo Slam as well. Destroys the Darkseer in the middle of the team fight. Exotic Deer still running away. Skitter wants to murder him, but won't find him in time. And Doom doesn't have enough damage to kill him. In fact, it's going to be Skitter who's silenced and might be destroyed by the Orchid damage. He's going to go into Axmo. Axmo can't get this Enchant Totem out. And the Doom will die in the backlines by the expense of what? A lot of heroes. Nisha actually stopped with the arrow. And Skitter somehow still surviving that Orchid. Not enough damage. And now the guys from Singularity have to start putting the push-up so they can take advantage of the lack of Darkseer, Doom, and of course a God Strengthened Sven, as Sven was not able to be killed in this team fight. Let's see. Nisha start to push these towers. There's the help from Exotic Deer. Still has the true form to get the extra war cry. The bear gets stunned for quite a while. Where's the help from Sven? The Blink Dagger is available, but no God Strength, so of course he really doesn't have that much damage anymore. Goes onto the bear. He's been silenced. They want to prevent his ultimate from coming on anyway. Hook shot. That was another of those weird initiations from Clockwork, where he doesn't seem to see the glimpse, or he thought he could get it before the glimpse actually completed. Alright. What about Exotic Deer? He is not confident to use his bear again. He knows he's going to sacrifice it. They take 2 racks, especially the side lanes. Now the only lane left is the mid lane. Split pushing, super easy for Singularity, as they can actually go through the side lanes. Either one of them as they'll be constantly pushing. Whereas in the mid lane is all the Penta has to defend. It's easier to defend, certainly, but if you don't get good team fights, the guys from Singularity can just choke you to death, as you can only really stay in this lane right now. And you can actually even be initiated from a smoke gang from either this side or a smoke gang from this side, and there's nothing you can do about it, really. Besides, well, be prepared for it. The counter initiation for Penta has been quite deplorable, as the Darkseer was forced to go for a Blink Dagger, meaning that no Guardian Greaves, meaning they have no way to clear that silence up from the Orchid. And of course, if the Static Storm has find them, there's actually no way to survive that whatsoever. While the Lone Druid himself is also finding a really strong items now with the Assault Cuirass. Next item would be a Mule. Maelstrom. Okay, so it seems like it's gonna be a Maelstrom A for the bear, I want to say. You go for the magic resistance on the bear. Really? Magic resistance on the bear? That's... well, over 12 Spirit Bear armor. I think That 12 armor seems a bit more useful, as they don't have much magical damage really. It's only to fight in the macro power and whatnot. I mean, there's a lot of magic resistance, 50%, but seems like 12 armor might be a bit more useful. Of course, with the Assault Cuirass, that's probably why. He makes up for it with the Assault Cuirass, so I see the idea. Anyway, Axmo wants to go into this fan. There's a beautiful Echo Slam there, but of course he didn't see it because of the smoke. Two wards put down in the same position. Talk about efficiency. Ice Path, we'll want to find the Clockwork. The Lone Druid might just kill the Jakir. There's the hook shot, finds the Darkseer. That's the objective. Sven now destroys this poor Disruptor, disintegrates him from the map as the Echo Slam comes in onto 2. They find the Doom first, they kill him off. The arrow hits the Clockwork, but who cares about that as they actually manage to kill the Doom there and prevent him from doing anything this team fight. Nisha has to blink away from all the damage to this fan. They're going to start to kite him now. Here comes Blazemon. He also deals a bit of damage. Axmo, everyone just going in different directions to try to create a chaotic team fight. Now that the Doom is gone, they do have a slight advantage. And now they go to the bottom lane. They want to continue the push. Axmo preparing himself with the Shadow Blade available. Boogie is just going to lose his Moonlight Shadow and is going to be in the range of death. But of course, they don't really take much advantage out of this because without the Echo Slam, they really can't fight. And the Echo Slam was hoping for a kill maybe on the Sven as well. They're going to the Jakiro. He's been silenced. Also destroyed by the Orkick. Pop to kill the Jakiro. And for now, it does seem like Singularity will be keeping up their lead in the game, but again, having trouble killing off the Sven. They are kiting him pretty efficiently, but they really can't kill him. Sven is a great strength game. He also gets the extra strength from the God's Strength itself. He actually didn't go for any defensive items except for the BKB. That's fair enough. You don't actually need them as the damage from the WT is much more sustained and not really enough burst damage to kill you, especially in the Moonlight Shadow. That's okay. That is literally a misclick. If you say GG, that's one thing. If you say good game, well played, it's another thing. Also the standing. Also the finals. We're not going to let them lose because of that. I'm the admin, that's why I'm explaining my decision here. Usually it would be a death loss when you do that, but if it's just the wheel. And Hookshot finds the Doom, they cogs him back, kinetic field, and he's dead. There's no more Doom for this next team fight. 50 seconds without him. Nisha, going to this tower. Double damage. Shivas might just find Blazemon. No, the Shivas will not deal damage to him, but the Glimpse will find him. Static Storm as well. Kinetic field, is it prepared? No, Monta's out to evade. It's Sonic Wave. Now to Blazemon, and then goes to Sven. He actually pummels 3 and destroys him completely. Exartius still has the cheese, has to eat it. The Lone Druid needs his bear to help him out. He eats the cheese too soon. Second Echo Slam there from Axmo. What? How do they do? Okay, Sven will die now, and did I mess up? Was that an enchant totem? Okay, I don't know why I thought that was an Echo Slam. No, that's Sven. The Sven was Stormhammer, of course. The Echo Slam now finding the people. Sorry. Why is he second? Anyway, in comes Skinner. He has the buyback. He goes into the clock. They have to defend it somehow. There's the fissure. They want to kill the Mirana, but of course the Shivas is really hard for the Sven to kill people proper. The Cogs actually close the Queen of Pain in, but she's gonna man fight him and kill him. 120 seconds, 2 whole minutes without the Sven. This is GG for Penta, and the score will be equaled for this first game of this best of 5 as the final of this ProDota Cup veers slightly in favor of Singularity. They make it sure that it's a 1-1 for this next game coming up. And now it's just going to be a simple best of 3 between the Polish and mixed European squads. We'll see now what happens in game number 2. Hope you've enjoyed game number 1, of course, and hope you've enjoyed the cast. If you did, feel free to follow me on Twitter at DSwordfish. And of course, if you're enjoying the ProDota Cup as a whole, do check out XBet, our sponsor, as they make this whole cup possible. We'll be coming back very soon with game number 2 between Penta eSports and Team Singularity. Enjoy some tunes while we wait.